Thanks for all coming along to the talk today, where Penny and I will be talking to you about TV. Just as ways of introductions, my name is Mahir and I am the head of broadcast at Total Media, where we're responsible for all the planning and buying of TV, video on demand, cinema, radio, and out of home. But today we'll be talking to you specifically about TV. So the TV market has undergone a lot of changes in the kind of past 10 years in particular, and even more so in the past 5 years. So just want to give you a bit of a background into how TV has evolved, and then the different avenues that are available for all advertising TV, and ones that are more specific to that may be of use to publishers, and how you can get access into TV and TV content. So first up, it doesn't really need me to say this, but TV from an advertising perspective is the ultimate brand builder, and it is at the heart of most cultural moments that we have as a society. So you think back to the World Cup 2 years ago when England made it to the semi-finals. The England versus Croatia semi-final, 18 million people watched that at the same time on TV. So obviously, really huge moment there. The likes of Game of Thrones, people waking up at 2 a.m. to make sure they watched it without any spoilers, watched it on Sky Atlantic as its exclusive view at the same time it went out in America. Then the likes of The Bodyguard on ITV, that was doing 9-10 million views when that came out. And then you also have the reality TV, which attracts a very different audience, but a really important audience. So you've got Love Island, which is the really young audience, and then also the likes of Great British Bake Off, which is still incredibly popular, even after it's moved to Channel 4. And what that means is that by accessing big TV programs for clients, we can really build coverage for campaigns. So this is an example of a campaign that we've run just this year for one of our clients. It's a food brand, it's not a publisher. And you can see just in the first week of the campaign, so by the 13th of January, they'd almost reached 50% of their audience. And that was through having key launch spots in the likes of Coronation Street. And then further in the campaign, having spots in Britain's Got Talent. So over the course of a 5-month period, they were able to reach almost 90% of their audience. TV is a media like no other because there's very few other medias that you'd be able to do this in a relatively short period of time. However, the biggest barrier to TV advertising is the cost. And our client, for this example, spent around £1.3 million. And we are well aware not all clients are able to do things like that. It's also been well documented that TV viewing is changing or is declining. And as you can see, it's not really happened at the accelerated rate that a lot of the market is talking about. Simply what's happened is the way people consume TV has really changed. So these are times, so it's 3 hours, 31 minutes of TV content. So that's TV and video on demand content was watched in 2017. And then that dropped by 9 minutes to 3 hours, 22 minutes. So that does not include the likes of YouTube and Facebook video and things like that. I know these numbers often shock people, thinking, oh, how can people watch that much TV in their day? If you are London-based, London is very much a media bubble, and we consume media very differently. But regions such as the North and Scotland are still really heavy consumers of TV, and that skews the national average slightly. But what that's meant with the change in TV consumption is that linear TV reach alone is becoming harder to achieve. So the classic example for anyone that's kind of done any form of marketing and advertising on TV in the past 10 to 15 years, in 2011, the example that people use is, oh, can we just buy 400 TVRs? That way we'll reach 80% of our audience. That was true once upon a time, but unfortunately 400 TVRs on traditional TV will only reach around 72% of your audience now. And that is simply because the way people consuming their TV content has changed quite dramatically. And this has changed particularly for younger audiences. So this is something that Barb and Thinkbox put together every year. So Thinkbox is the key research body for TV advertising. And as you can see, the outermost red ring is the percentage of video time per day that people spend watching live TV. So still around 50% of people's video consumption is done on live TV daily. However, for 16 to 34 adults, it's less than 25%. So they are the audience that has really kind of changed. And it's actually YouTube that takes up a lot of their time. But if you look at all adults, then YouTube doesn't take up as much time. It's only around 12.5%. But in terms of live TV and broadcast of VOD, that is, and catch-up TV and broadcast of VOD, that takes up almost 75% of consumers' time. But I say this, and obviously we're in very different circumstances at the moment. And during lockdown, it's kind of all viewing figures have bucked the trend of TV being on decline. As you can see across all audiences, so individuals is literally everyone. 16 to 34 adults is the younger adults. ABC One adults are more affluent than what used to be called the housewives and kids has now changed to house persons and kids, and also the children. You can see across all of these audiences, they've seen dramatic uplift in their TV impact. So the amount of TV that these audiences are watching, all over 10% in this period of time, which is really significant, particularly for the younger audience. And this in turn has had a real impact on the cost of TV. So as I said, TV's biggest barrier to entry is definitely the cost of it. But at the moment, TV is the cheapest it has been, certainly in my media career, but from people that I've spoken to at the likes of ITV, Channel 4 and Sky, it's the cheapest that pricing has been since 2008. So this is an example of May pricing. So for an ABC One adult audience, on the left column is what the average ITV price is. Then the second bar is what the price would be with our kind of normal discounts that we would negotiate with them. Then during COVID-19, because revenue has dropped so much, advertising revenue has dropped so much for the broadcasters, and they're really keen to get repeat advertisers or new advertisers on air. They're offering quite incentivized pricing and discounts. But then when you factor in the amount of people watching TV and the amount of advertising in the market, which impacts on the price, you're seeing that prices are now £11.06 from what they were at £22.58, what they should be at £22.58. So there's almost a 50% discount at the moment in the market, which is really, really significant. But the main reason for the change in viewing consumption is because of the change in technology in the TV world that has really opened up different streams of people. That was not meant to be a pun, but it kind of is. It's different streams of the way people are able to watch TV content. There's a blanket term for this, which is connected TV, which I'll go into in a bit more detail. Please ask questions if you have any questions on this, because some of it, although it shouldn't hopefully not be too technical, some of it may come across as it. So this is just demonstrating the way that TV has changed. In the top left corner, this is how TV used to be consumed probably 10 years ago or so, is with families watching together in a living room over a satellite through your Sky or through your Virgin Media or TiVo box. Then a few years later, DVR or time-shifted viewing was introduced. So that is the ability to record a program and catch up on it later, or pause a live program and then come back to it when you've finished making your cup of tea or making your dinner. And then also, then the evolution happened with watching TV over networks. So ESPN were kind of the leaders in the space, and they start in America. They start showing live sport on laptops through subscription. And then you got kind of applications that were dedicated to, say, your Netflix, your Amazon Prime videos. And they, again, originally those apps were all mobile, tablet and computer based. However, with the advances of TV, particularly in the last few years, streaming TV and movie content in the living room on the big screen over an internet connection has really, really changed the way that people watch TV. So just to give you a definition of connected TV, connected TV is video content consumed on a TV screen delivered via the internet connection. This includes TVs directly connected to the internet, so your smart TVs. So most new TVs that you buy now will be smart TVs, as well as hardware. So that could be a games console, it could be your Sky set-top box, it could be a Roku stick or a Google Chromecast, etc. So any way that your TV is connected to the internet makes it a connected TV. And then this is just going into further detail about how the TVs can be connected to the internet. So as I mentioned, they're smart TVs. So you'll plug an Ethernet cable, or some of them are connected by Wi-Fi. And then you'll have all your applications on your home screen. Then there's streaming devices, so there's the likes of Roku sticks and Google Chromecasts and Amazon Fire Sticks. Then you've got your games console, so people can stream TV content through your PlayStations or your Xboxes. And then there's the pay TV or the set-top boxes. So like your Sky Q box or your Virgin Media TiVo box gives you access to different content. In terms of the connected TV ecosystem, so if you look at any study about connected TV, you'll realize there is so much jargon, and I'm going to try and use as little of the jargon as possible, but I have to give you some of it to give you kind of an overview of what the ecosystem really looks like. So on the left-hand side, we have our traditional linear TV, and on the right-hand side, we have the connected TV world. Then there are things that span both. So there's HBBTV. You don't need to remember these acronyms or anything, but that just stands for Hybrid Broadband TV. So that is essentially what your set-top boxes do, that you can watch traditional TV on your TV screen, but also because it has a set-top box connected to it and it's powered through your broadband, it also streams TV into your linear TV. Then you've got your IPTV, which is a TV literally connected directly to the internet. Sorry, I think I got a question. Sorry. And then also OTT, which is the most commonly used term. OTT literally means over the top, and it is over the top of your traditional TV set. And that is the hardware that allows your TV to be connected. So that is your Fire Sticks and your games consoles and those sorts of things. So OTT is a term you'll see commonly touted about, but it's just a term for a piece of hardware. And then finally, this allows for targeting solutions of things like addressable TV, which I'll go into a bit later. And there are opportunities on addressable TV which could be really relevant to advertising books. And then just to give you an example of how the penetration of connected TVs in the UK has kind of grown. So although it was strong in 2017, it's really grown over the past 3 years, and it's set to continue to grow to over 50% of households in the UK having a connected TV, which as advertisers provides us a huge opportunity as well. The connected TV, obviously you can watch your traditional TV, but what it really means is the rise of on-demand. On-demand takes many different forms. So VOD is the overall term, which means video on demand, but video on demand itself takes many forms. So the classic one that we'll talk to you mostly about is broadcaster VOD or BVOD. That is the catch up on your ITV Hub, your All4, your Sky On Demand, and your My5. So it's the traditional broadcasters and their catch up services and the opportunities that are available there. Then there is your AVOD, which is ad supported VOD. So the broadcasters do span into this space, but really this space is where YouTube play. Then Samsung, I'll go into in a bit more detail later on, but the likes of Samsung and Rakuten have their own free apps on smart TVs where they show different levels of content. There's advertising opportunities there. And then, of course, there is SVOD or subscription VOD, where currently there are no advertising opportunities, but this is where users pay a monthly subscription fee to get access to content which doesn't have any advertising. So that's your Netflix, your Amazon Prime videos, your Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, etc. And then there is TVOD, which is transactional VOD. And what that means is essentially people pay for a there and then exchange of content. So you think about Now TV, you pay for an entertainment package for a short period of time. On Rakuten, you could buy films just to watch over the course of a week or a TV series, but they kind of play in the AVOD and SVOD space. However, the area of opportunity that we are looking at is in the broadcaster VOD and the ad-supported VOD or the AVOD space. So, as I mentioned, there's Samsung TV Plus, which falls into the AVOD space. So, if you have a smart TV and if you have a Samsung Smart TV, the Samsung TV Plus application will be on there. The chances are that you've never watched it because you're either watching linear TV or you're watching one of the broadcasters catch-ups or you're watching Netflix or Amazon Prime Video or Disney Plus. But actually, as you can see here, they've got exclusive partnerships with some really awesome, really cool channels. And through these, we can buy advertising on these channels. So they've got a lot of cooking channels. So they've got access to all of Tastemade and also Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. They have children's channels, so like Moonbug Kids. They have a lot of news channels. Cheddar News, I think, is kind of entertainment news. And then they've got CBSN, which is another news channel. Then they've got bespoke things like Outside TV, which is a channel all about skateboarding and mountain climbing and those sorts of things. So this is just a small cross-section of what they have. They have a lot more channels. And then also the likes of Rakuten, who I mentioned earlier, have their own application. They have content that's different to this, but also free content to consumers, which is funded by advertising. So there's opportunities there as well. Rakuten at the moment, they are a sponsor of the Barcelona Football Club, and they have exclusive documentaries on the Barcelona football team and Lionel Messi. So if you had any sports-related books, it could be a really good place to advertise as well. But then going back to broadcaster VOD, as I mentioned, is what we'll talk to you more about. So broadcaster VOD has changed in its way of consumption because of connected TV. And actually, it's consumed in a really similar way to the way traditional or linear TV is consumed. So 7 out of 10 BVOD views happen on the big screen in the household, so no longer on a desktop or mobile. So that is giving it a TV-like environment already. Then people tend to watch BVOD together with, on average, 1.6 people in a room at a time. So essentially 2 people in a room at a time. So it's watched in a similar way to TV, that it's really kind of a shared environment. And then also, this study found that there's a 15% increase in purchase consideration when added to linear TV campaigns. So it's a really powerful extension tool to linear TV campaigns, but also because of the statistics of 7 out of 10 people watching it on TV and people watching it together, it's also a really powerful. Standalone platform as well. Had a question through about Samsung channels and what kind of audiences do they have. So Samsung TV Plus is relatively new. It was launched, I'm going to say, in November last year, so it's only kind of 6 months old, and they're doing a big marketing push around it at the moment. The issue with AVOD at the moment is that audience sizes are generally quite small because they're still not that well known about. Which is why we're saying that broadcaster VOD is a great opportunity. However, it really depends on the audience type for Samsung. I can get figures for these, kind of actual figures for audience viewing, and share them afterwards. I don't have these to hand, apologies. And then just going back to broadcaster VOD. So broadcaster VOD is consumed heavily by light TV viewers, as you'd imagine. So people that don't watch as much live linear TV, they watch loads of broadcaster VOD. It may be because their lifestyles just don't allow for it, and they end up catching up on content. So it could be people that are commuting, or they work long hours, or they have young children that they have to look after. So they catch up in their own time, and you can see that they kind of make up almost 30% of their viewing is done by light TV viewers. But then also for medium and heavy, it's a good extension tool to reach more of your audience. As I mentioned earlier, linear TV has been the cheapest that I've seen it in my career. This is also the case for broadcaster VOD. So there's been a a stat was released yesterday. There's been a 45% uplift in commercial broadcaster VOD viewing for this period, for the lockdown period this year versus the same period last year. That's pretty huge figures. What this has meant is that because the broadcasters are losing advertising revenue because of advertisers having to pull out, and also there's so much inventory available on broadcaster VOD, we're seeing that really incentivized CPMs. So these are just an example. The regular all-4 CPM is about £33.60, and they're offering CPMs of £23.52. So that's, I think, almost, it's a 20% discount. And then similarly with ITV Hub, Sky VOD and STV, we're seeing really heavy discounts. So again, at the moment, there's a really good opportunity with a lower barrier to entry to have a presence around TV content. Then, as I mentioned, AVOD, AVOD kind of falls into what we call the CTV world when it comes to advertising. So these are the sorts of things that you can do with CTV. Sorry, I jumped start. We're going to go back to broadcaster VOD. In terms of advertising opportunities on broadcaster VOD, it's very much like TV. So you can buy a demographic audience, you can buy by age or gender, you can buy by location, but also you can buy by interest. But what that means often is that, say, All4 will look at all the content that people are interested. They have a panel, and they'll do a survey to that panel and see what they watch, and then overlay it and extrapolate it across the audience. So their panels cover things like foodies, fitness enthusiasts, people who love entertainment, gamers, and all those sorts of things. So it's quite a wide range of things, but that is done very much on an extrapolation of data around people that watch similar content. Whereas in the connected TV world and the AVOD world, the targeting capabilities are really, really precise. So you can do things like you can target by device, but actually, if you look at Samsung TV, for example, they are the biggest smart TV provider in the UK, and they have over a third of the UK smart TV market. And they can actually observe what content is being consumed on TV screens. It can be quite intrusive, so apologies if any of you find this intrusive. But they can observe what content is being consumed on the TV screen, and then target people based on the back of what they've previously been exposed to. And also, because your connected TV is connected to the internet and the same IP address as kind of your phone, your laptop, your tablet, etc. They also get data, a big profile of the household, and can target people according to, say, purchasing habits or browsing habits and those sorts of things. So again, we can be really heavily targeted on connected TVs because of that. And then just giving you an idea of why we look at connected TV, it's accountable because of the targeting. It's affordable, the barriers to entry are low. It's also a way to reach people that are known as cord cutters. So cord cutters are people that are actively cancelling their subscriptions to TV services, to the likes of Sky and Virgin Media, because they watch purely catch-up content. The adverts aren't skippable. So unlike YouTube or Facebook, etc., these TV adverts have to be watched in full before the content is served. It just acts as standard VOD that is pre-roll, and there's also mid-roll in some services. So pre-roll is the adverts that go out before the program starts, and the mid-roll on some services is in the middle of the program, like you'll have a TV ad break. The effective targeting, which are covered in the last one, so in the last slide, is because of all their data capabilities. It's viewable because all the ads are in screen and they have to be watched throughout. They can't be skipped. And also, unlike traditional TV, we can report on this in real time because of the kind of digital element to connected TV. Then just looking at some of the targeted opportunities that I alluded to. So we can do things like TV viewing behavior. So for example, with Samsung, they can look at viewers who frequently open their Netflix or Amazon Prime app. So when they're consuming, whilst we can't advertise on Netflix or Amazon Prime, we can reach those people when they're watching kind of other AVOD content on Samsung TVs. So if you want to reach a Netflix audience when they're consuming other content, there's that. There's online behavior. So as I mentioned, because connected TVs are off the same IP address, through first and third party data, we're able to see kind of the profile of a household and target them accordingly. Then some providers have the ability to target based on purchase behavior. So they have partnerships with the likes of MasterCard. And then also, as I mentioned, the TV apps. So people that are heavy consumers of, say, SVOD services, we can target them. And then there's a standard targeting like day of week, time of day, and location as well. So that's kind of the connected TV world and the catch-up world. And that is a low barrier to entry because you can kind of enter that with budgets from as low as £2,500, which you wouldn't be able to do on linear TV because you would simply kind of just get lost in the TV world with the saturation that exists there. However, there is opportunities to advertise on linear TV, which has been enabled through the technology of connected TV. And this is known as addressable TV. Again, addressable TV has lower barriers to entry than TV. So you can generally, we say about £3,000 is a good entry point for addressable TV. And I'll take you through some of the technology here and how it works and how it can be used. So the real difference between addressable TV and traditional TV. So on the left-hand side is traditional TV. I talked about the ways that you could buy traditional TV before, and it is purely through a audience demographic model. So you buy any one of these audiences here, and then what that means is that you'd get really broad reach against that audience, but you may end up with significant wastage, which I'll show you in a second. But however, on addressable TV, you can do the age and gender and kind of day part targeting that you can do on traditional TV, but also you can geo-target people, so you can target based on as granular as postcodes. You can target people on drive time to say stores or to airports or things like that. You can target people based on their purchase habits. So again, I'll take you through in particular Sky AdSmart and Finecast and their kind of data partners that we can use. You can target people based on their behaviours or locations or financial decisions and things like that as well. Things that you just can't do on traditional TV. How does it reach our audiences? So here you'll see a diagram that you've got all these audiences in the red circles, and on the looking at traditional side first, you've got a few of them that are highlighted yellow. So you have the broad audience is everyone, and then the core audience is the people in yellow. Your TV campaign goes out, and what happens is these blue circles appear, and these are the people that have been exposed to your advert. So whilst you've reached a number of people within your audience, you've also reached people outside of your audience, which can be great for awareness building as one of TV's biggest strengths. However, if you're on a tight budget, that wastage is exactly what it is. It's wastage and can be misuse of budget. However, with addressable, if we look at the diagram in the same way, but we look at it on a household as opposed to an individual basis, what you'll see will happen is the campaign will go out and it will literally only reach the households that match the characteristics of your target audience. It won't be aired on any of these other in any of these other households. Just to demonstrate how it works in a bit more detail. So you have the brand, data. So you can overlay, you can input your first party data if you have. Then you also have the third party data, which I'll come on to on the next slide, and also the location data. All of these are overlaid to build a portfolio of characteristics of the household. When they are watching, you can have two households watching exactly the same program at the same time on the same channel, and they can be next door to each other, for example. But one of these households matches the characteristics that we are looking for as an advertiser, and the other one doesn't. So what happens is completely seamlessly, the household that matches those characteristics will be served a different advert to the house next door, which doesn't match the characteristics. And that's the way addressable TV works. It's basically dynamic ad insertion is the beauty of addressable TV. Sky AdSmart is very much the market leader in this space. They were the first ones to launch in the UK. It's a big part of the reason why Comcast bought Sky, because the Sky AdSmart technology is amazing. This Sky AdSmart advertising goes out across live linear TV feeds for anyone that has a Sky Plus box or better, and also they have a partnership with Virgin Media, so also all Virgin Media households are now subject to it as well. And this goes out across all of these channels here. So you've got your classic Sky channels, your Sky Sports, Sky Witness, Channel 5, MTV, and various other entertainment channels as well. And then in terms of third-party data, so Sky obviously have their first-party data of what households consume in terms of TV programs and TV channels. But this is then overlaid with third-party data. Sorry, I've got a question, I think. Oh, no. And this is then overlaid with third-party data. And their partners are the likes of dunnhumby. dunnhumby is a Tesco Club Card partner, so you can target people based on purchasing habits, which we do a lot for our FMCG clients. You have Experian data, so a bit more lifestyle. You have Boots Club Card data, Game Club Card data, also MasterCard purchase habit, and MS Diary. We would only pick the ones that are most relevant for the campaign in terms of data partners. And then just in the bottom right corner is all the different sort of ways that you can target people. Then from Sky AdSmart, which is, remember, on live linear viewing, we have Finecast. So Finecast is a relatively new product, and it works in the same way that AdSmart does, but across all connected TVs catch-up services. So when people are watching ITV Hub, all for Sky, also when people are watching the AVOD services I spoke about earlier in terms of like Rakuten and Samsung ads, it works with all of the providers, Sky, Virgin and BT, when people are catching up through their set-top boxes, and also on any technology. So in the same way, as I mentioned, the dynamic ad insertion happens with AdSmart on live linear TV. Finecast does it the same way through people watching catch-up services on connected TVs. So obviously we talked a lot about connected TV, linear TV, and also addressable TV. But I guess the question is, how do you select which is the right type of TV type to use? the real thing to look at first is what type of audience you're trying to reach. So if you're looking for a one-to-one relationship, then you would go for something more targeted and look to kind of nudge audiences through more personalized, relevant content. And that's really essential for kind of retention and acquisition. Or if you want a more one-to-many approach, the mass reach building, you would probably look at a more traditional TV-led solution. Sorry, so the one-to-one is more kind of your VODs and your addressable TV, although broadcastable could also fit in the one-to-many depending on your targeting. But the one-to-many is very much what we consider to be traditional TV. Then looking at how you can layer this as an overall TV campaign. So linear TV, as I mentioned, the best attribute of it is reaching mass audiences, so reaching all potential buyers. Then there's addressable TV, is the ability to be really precise with your targeting. Then there's broadcaster VOD, so it can be extend TV campaign or even build reach on its own. That's really important for reaching lighter TV viewers and also those that have specific interests. Then there's YouTube and programmatic, which is more about kind of personalization and conversion with your messaging. And then social video, which is kind of tapping into people's existing passions and interests as opposed to reaching new audiences. And then looking at what you get. So I'm going to let Penny take over here with some examples that she has had.
Okay, Mahir, are you in control? Okay, guys, nice to see you all. Recognise quite a few people joining in. Thanks, guys. So Mahir's explained how things are working these days. So we thought what you really need to know is this affordable for you guys and your budgets? So what we're taking you through now is some anonymised fund campaigns and actual campaigns to give you an idea of what you can get. Some of these are based on current market conditions, which is the first one. So if we can start flicking through here. So this one's a budget of 15,000. We used a 20-second time length, and so this was based in the current COVID climate. Some of you or one of you might recognise this campaign. It is completely anonymous. But if we'd have bought this campaign in normal buying circumstances, let's say because the TV market is dynamic, it was based on the market was performing the same way as last year. So at 2019 prices, we would have been able to deliver 2 million female impressions. That's key, women impressions. Within a 2020 situation, we were actually able to negotiate double that at 4.2 million impressions. We actually delivered 6.6 million women impressions on this campaign. This is a linear TV campaign on Sky. It was relatively broad. It was across a lot of channels, but it was £15,000. That means in terms of cost per thousand, it delivered the equivalent of, it delivered actually 10 million adult impressions. So on a cost per thousand basis, that was a cost per thousand for all women of £2.72 and a cost per thousand, if you benchmark against adults, of £1.50. That's cheaper than radio. So that's the kind of marketplace that at the moment TV is offering on a linear basis to advertisers. Now, clearly, that is not the same across the board. One of the initial charts from Mahir mentions that big build of 80% at 1.3 million and included some ITV key programming like Curry and BGT. Clearly, those are headliner programs, and you're not going to buy a program like that for 15 grand. But if we're looking at broad coverage aimed at a broad demo, we were told we used Sky because it reached a more of a 25 to 54 female demo. Then it was great value for this campaign. So that's linear TV. So let's have a look at another format. So this is, as Mahir has just been mentioning, using Sky Ad Smart. So again, through linear, but on a addressable basis, so a lot more targeted. If we take again a budget of 15k and we're looking at a time length of 20 seconds, then this campaign, if we're looking at the Midlands, so we can geo-target it. We can't geo-target on Sky Linear because it's national only. You can only geo-target on linear TV, these traditional linear TV, through ITV and, in a big sense, Channel 4, as in there aren't that many regions. But if we looked at 25 women in Central TV region, that will give you impressions last year at 400,000. This year, you're looking at nearer 550,000. So again, a lot better value in terms of the overall cost per thousand. On 25 to 54, getting on for £28. But if we look at that in terms of a broader audience, and all women, cost per thousand of under 1350, and if we translated that to an adult cost per thousand, that'd probably be half that again. So if we look at another example, I'm just going to whiz these through now. So again, using Finecast instead of AdSmart. So this is on capture, 15 grand again, 20 second again. 20 to 55 women in London and the Midlands, they have their own different universes, but we can overlay more targeting options. So in this example, an interest of shopping, you can look at reading, you can look at interest in books, and various personics overlays. Again, that would have delivered 375,000 impressions. And clearly, the more targets you go, you know this, guys, because you do your own Facebook and so on and so forth. With programmatic, then you know, the more you go, the more targeted you are, the higher the cost per thousand. But again, about a £28 cost per thousand for a middling to youngish female audience. So that's on catch-up. How about moving on to video on demand? We look at classic video demand, if you like, and if we look at ITV first, and we're using £10,000 as a budget, we're using 30 seconds as a time length, and if we look at classic ITV video demand, programme driven, looking at ABC One Women, 300,000 impressions. If we look at the hub, because on ITV Hub you have to sign in, and therefore there's more data, so we can define that audience a lot closer. You're looking at slightly fewer impressions at 273,000, and if we then go either genre or travel channel driven, we can do that as well. But that's more of a classic video demand that you guys are probably used to, and actually you could spend £5,000 on that quite easily. You don't have to spend £10,000. So that's the classic. Then we're looking at Sky, because the way it's transmitted is slightly different. If we look at a budget of £5,000 at 30 seconds, we can deliver this across large screen and clickable formats on desktop, mobile, and so on and so forth. Men we chose for this one because it's Sky and there's loads of men watching various channels, and we can deliver 150,000 targeted male impressions in this high impact format for a £5,000 budget. So again, what we're looking at now is we're moving away from that linear campaign I looked at the very beginning to a very, very more niche audience, but with that high impact, because you've got video and you've got sound and you've got movement and it's non-skippable. The last one, and this was a short term, it will remain nameless because it was for one of you guys. We spent £3,000 on Channel 4. It was for 30 seconds. We bought selected spots to reach a very selective audience across a very small range of programming, but they were very selective. We delivered 2 million adult impressions on this campaign, which was a cost per thousand of £1.50. We delivered 1.2 million women over 35. It looks less, but if you look at the proportionality of women over 35 to all adults, the efficiency index is 159. If we looked at women over 45, which is just over 1 million, we indexed 185 against all adults. So you can buy very selectively on TV. This was linear TV. This wasn't connected. This wasn't VOD. This was linear TV it was a short-term opportunity, and it was recently. But it's just giving you an example that things can be done in the TV sphere. And going back to Mihir's comments about Samsung TV and in terms of the kind of viewer figures, in the nicest possible way, you guys are never going to exhaust the supply of any kind of broadcaster inventory. So even if you go with a broadcast that has small audience levels, because we can spend £2,500 on the likes of Samsung TV, we could deliver you a very niche targeted, let's say it was across, they have quite a lot of food programming here. You know, for you guys who have cookery books, we could deliver you a very targeted campaign for a particular audience for a low sum of money. One thing we do need to point out, which is the next slide, is, as a lot of you are aware of, is all of the TV that we've been talking about needs to be Clearcast approved, because it's going to be broadcast as TV, whether it's catch-up or not, but it's broadcast of our, that's the law. I think it's not choice, it's what we have to do. A lot of you are familiar about this, because anybody who does broadcast of art and you put VOD on ITV or Sky, whatever so far, you'll be used to doing that. We can help you with that to make it as cheap as possible and as easy as possible, because we can help you with the Clearcast approval process for you. I mentioned to Lucy before we went live, in terms of the lead times, your booksellers, these are the classic lead times. Now we throw those out the window. We can work to smaller lead times than that, but start from the worst and then we're working. But we can make it work for you, and we can make it work cost efficiently for you guys. So that's it from us. Any questions? Back over to Lucy.
Hi everyone, does anyone have any questions at all? Nothing. That was really, really helpful though, thank you. It's really useful just to know that you can do a campaign from as little as 2,500. Obviously we have to factor in creative as well to everything we do, but actually really, really helpful to see that you don't have to be spending £50,000 to get a TV campaign.
Just on that creative point, Lucy, ITV and Channel 4 publicly said that they will offer their creative services during this COVID-19. Obviously, the advertising revenue is crucial to the likes of ITV and Channel 4, more so than it is to Sky, because Sky get money from subscriptions. And they are offering their creative services, making no money on it, so charging a flat fee. So there is, again, low barriers to entry on the creative front if people are looking to go on TV for the first time and needed creative help. So again, those are things that the broadcasters are willing to facilitate if needs be.
And that's really useful to know, because obviously you have to make things certain specs, don't you, to be delivered for TV. So actually people who know what to do, that's really helpful. Okay, if no one has any questions, I'm sure some might come in later and we can send them your way. But thank you so much again. That was really, really useful and helpful. And thank you to everyone who joined us. And we'll see you for the next one soon.